Okay, guys, ready?
Yes.
So this is not a technical session. It's more a story that I will tell you. It's a story of how we managed to make a fork of XenServer and a lot of things before. So first, I'm Olivier. I'm the CEO of X, a company created in 2012 mainly to make open source business consulting, but then we made a pivot to be a software editor, and we edited in XenOrchestra. I will show you it just after. I'm not a Windows guy at all, so excuse me. I'm a Linux and FreeBSD guy, former Xen system administrator since 2007, so it's been a while I know Xen. I also started XenOrchestra, XCP-ng, and I don't like everything that's complex in terms of usage or licensing. And I like a lot of open source and driving communities, user communities, but also contributors. If you want to have access to slides, they are available on xcp-ng.com/talks and Valley Twitter here. So, who knows what's XenServer here? Almost everyone? Okay, good. Who's using it today? Ah, impressive! I would have that bet on that. So, yeah, great.
Why are you surprised?
Because it's not a major hypervisor now in the market by far. So,
well,
but David tells us it's a major.
If you see the VDI like Pro yesterday, it's VMware and now it's XenServer. And
yeah.
A lot of the features that I built in now with XenServer, you get acceleration, for example. It's like.
I know that. Yeah.
And it's free. Yeah. I mean.
And it will be even better soon. So as you know, then XenServer is a kind of package, a distribution with Xen. Xen hypervisor itself is within the Linux Foundation, so it's a completely open source project. It's used by a lot of various companies, Oracle, Amazon, whatever, are using it. It's also used in the embed territory, I would say, in cars, etc. So the hypervisor itself is a really small piece of software. Then you got the control domain, which is modified CentOS, and what I call the glue around, which is the APIs, and a lot of Python scripts here and there. So this is kind of introduction, but it's really interesting because you probably know about the GitHub acquisition by Microsoft recently, and the value seems maybe a bit crazy, but when you read that sentence, I'm really okay with that. I mean, that's, for me, it's the truth. When you want to win in big software, you need to transform something that's complicated to something that's simple to use. That's the key, and it's even more true in the open source software. So keep this sentence in mind when we continue the presentation. So something deeply abstract, weird, and confusing. So for a lot of people, it sounds a bit like XenServer. So that's normal. Let's rewind back a bit. Xen being acquired by Citrix in 2007. And because Citrix is working with a lot of Microsoft partners, etc., they wanted to make the product not Linux, not sound like Linux. So basically, they decided to have everything behind an API, which is Zavi, which is a full API. And they decided to make a Windows client, it's called XenServer, to do that. And also to make a really specific update pack system, which is more like Windows updates than anything that we got in Linux for. So in the end, it's a bit confusing for both kind of communities because it's not Windows and it's not really Linux from the outside. So in my opinion, that's not a good idea. If you want to do that on your way, like VMware does, for example, then you need to put a lot of resources to do that. But when Citrix decided to stop competing directly with VMware on the server virtualization market, then after that they decided to open source XenServer, but transforming a software to an open source software is not just dumping the code on GitHub. It doesn't work like that. In open source, you need to do a lot of more stuff than that. You need to be close to the upstream. The upstream is the software you fork, for example. They are using CentOS, so they need to be really close to CentOS itself. because more you are specialized, more your fork is specialized, harder it is to maintain, because every time there is someone that contributing to CentOS, then you need to get back patches to your own project. And the worst example is QEMU, which is a piece of software, XenServer, and it was heavily forked from the mainline of QEMU. And for a security perspective and maintenance, that's very, very, very horrible. Okay, so don't do that. They've done that. Also, to be open source means to be able to have people external to your company to contribute to the project. And it's not really possible when you have something that not close to the main line, because it's hard for people to get inside the project, and you also need to explain how to contribute to a project. It sounds maybe dumb, but if you have a contributing README file in a project, it helps to say, if you have something to report, go there. If you want to make a pull request on GitHub, do this, do that, etc. That's really important to help people to contribute to projects. And because they don't have the culture of open source at Citrix, they didn't do that. But there is some good news. It's a bit better recently, this last, let's say, 2 years, but they are going from really, really far, so it's hard to correct when you started that to go into the right direction. But I think they understood that, at least on the technical side, so they are going closer and closer to the main line, but there is still a lot of work to do. So today, it's more a kind of a niche hypervisor. I would say that, except the vGPU, which is really popular, but in the server virtualization load, it's really a niche market. Okay, the strategy is kind of different than VMware, because they decided to go against VMware. So that's logical. Also, what's logical is that on the server virtualization part, they decided to not compete, so it's not a priority for them to improve the product into that direction directly. So they are focused on all the vGPU stuff. So it's logical again. They are still having the XenServer client, which is Windows only and with limited capabilities. And there is still no external contribution. Outside the hypervisor itself, nobody has already contributed to the API, the tool stack, or etc. outside Citrix. So it's really kind of a closed ecosystem for now. But they got a really, really powerful API. So when I saw that, I saw the documentation of the API, I said, well, there is a lot of stuff that we could do on top of that. It exists, there's a lot of features, a lot of function. So why not creating something good on top of that? So that's why we decided to create XenOrchestra, which is, when it was born, around 2013, more a kind of web administration tool for XenServer. Something like that. Okay, so this is basically a view of the dashboard view of XenOrchestra. So basically you run it to a browser and you can access it. So a quick introduction on XenOrchestra. It's not a XenServer clone. We didn't want to have something that's a clone. We wanted to do something like we wanted XenServer should be in the end, something they didn't do. So basically, we built a turnkey solution, which we call XOA. XOA is an XenOrchestra virtual appliance. So basically, it's a Linux VM with everything installed in it. You deploy it once for a whole infrastructure. So you just copy, paste the bash thing here in one host, whatever. You tap enter and it will import the VM directly, load it, and then that's it. You have your web UI to manage all your hosts. Everything is connected to XenOrchestra, despite it could be remote location or whatever. You just add the IP of the pool master and that's it. So again, it's one XOA to control everything. Also, we got an updater inside XenOrchestra. When you have a new version every month, you just have to click on the web UI and say, I want to update XenOrchestra. So this is the stack, basically, for a while.
So update you can do manually too, because our XenServers have no internet access.
You need an internet connection to make updates. Is that your question?
Yes.
Yeah, you need an internet connection.
You cannot download it manually?
Nope, but XenOrchestra will act like a kind of proxy. By that I mean you don't need to expose.
Security would say no way.
Yeah.
No chance, no chance.
We have big customers and they add just a part that need to be added on their proxy or just to have updates. But for multiple reasons, monthly updates, patch updates, and remote support, we need to have access to. When you decided to open a tunnel, we did a reverse tunnel and we can access to your XOA. So yeah, it's fully online. That's, yeah, we know. But you can host it anywhere, even on a non-critical location, and XenOrchestra can be connected to XenServer another way for a tunnel or whatever you like to use. You just need to have a front, just need to have to access your XOA, and it's even better in the way of, if you want to access your XenServer, you can have a firewall, but just let XOA going through and just connect to your XOA, and XenServer are behind the firewall. So XenOrchestra will act like a kind of proxy. Also, it will be useful to make all the updates, etc. So yeah.
The communication for the update relies on HTTP only?
Yeah, it's HTTPS. Okay. Yes. So since we started XenOrchestra, as I said, it was more an administration tool, but it's changed a lot. For now, it's more than that, but to give you some example of innovation we did. For example, 5 years ago, we decided to switch from the XML RPC connection to the host to the JSON RPC. It wasn't documented, but we found it by tinkering, a bit. And it was really, really faster, and they decided to do that in XenServer just this year. So we are capable of going really, really fast. We also had the incremental backup features in XenOrchestra because it runs as a daemon, so it runs 24/7. So you can do a lot of exciting features by having something in a client that's always connected. So that's why there is two parts. There is server part of XenOrchestra and the client part when you connect it in the web browser. But the server part is always connected. So we could, with that, make a lot of cool stuff like advanced SCL. You can, for example, delegate VM to some people, or even self-service with quotas. For example, if you want to delegate to your developers team, let's say 32 gigs of RAM and 10 CPUs, and use those resources, and they can create their VMs inside that without exploding, the resources past the quota. So monitoring, load balancing, a lot of stuff that you can do because you are connected every time to the hosts. So again, all those features were done by connecting to the ZAPI, so the own Citrix API. So it was possible to do that because the API was really powerful, but not used at all by Citrix themselves. It's a bit strange, but this is the result. So anyway, now XenOrchestra is used by a lot of different companies all around the world, but the funny thing is Citrix is also a customer for their internal IT, so they like it a lot. We got small companies, but big ones, NVIDIA, Valve, Apple, whatever. More, some of them for, not the whole company, obviously, but for their labs or small parts of the IT infrastructure. We got some research centers and whatever. And if you want to play with that without paying anything, XenOrchestra is open source. It's HGPLv3. It means you can clone it from GitHub, you can install it and enjoy all the features, except the features that you got inside the appliance. Because obviously the appliance is a turnkey solution that we sell as a subscription. So you have the support, the updates, etc. And the licensing is pretty simple. It's flat. It means you just pay for your XenOrchestra clients, and it doesn't matter how many hosts and pools and VMs you have. It really doesn't matter. So it's pretty simple. So what about XCP-ng? So basically, as I said, it's a fork. The fork is a word that's really common in the open source community. Is when you grab the code of a project and you rebrand it and you want to do some stuff that wasn't possible into the initial project. So you can do that in open source because that's the right you have on the license. On all GPLv2 packages, for example, you can do that without any problem. Regarding the name itself, for those who know XenServer for a while, you know that before XenServer was open source, there was an alternative that was called XCP for Xen Cloud Project, and it was killed when XenServer was open sourced, which is logical. But then we wanted to revive the concept of having something that's community managed and not owned by only one company without any way to control it from the outside. So this is for the name. So why we did that? Frankly, if you told me that maybe 8 months ago, I would say, I don't want to do that at all. I don't want to fork XenServer. It's a big project. I don't have the resources. That's not my target. But when we started to hear that Citrix wanted to kill somehow the free edition of XenServer by, for example, having only 3 hosts max per pool, which is normally 16 and now 64, they removed a lot of really cool features like migration with the disk, etc. And when you check that 80% of our Xen Orchestra paying customers are using XenServer free edition, then you can see the problem. The problem is pretty clear. If there is no XenServer anymore here, then we are useless. And we have 2 solutions. One is to be compatible with other hypervisor, but it means we need at least 6 months to 1 year to do that, and which one to select, and the market is complicated, etc., etc., etc. The other solution was to fork XenServer to make XCP-ng. So we started to think, why not to do that? We started to explore technically a bit more what's inside and what we could fork. And the idea was to, as I said, to make a move that was defensive. I mean, we wanted to just be able to tell our customers, if you are not happy with XenServer anymore, just switch to XCP-ng and that's it. Because it's a fork, the API is 100% compatible with Xen Orchestra, so there is no change. Okay, so that was the first idea why we've done that. But then we saw also an opportunity. This was a threat, but we said, maybe if we start to make the effort to make that fork, if people are buying it, are buying at least the idea and maybe then buying support for that, maybe we could even, make business with that. So why not? So to explore this possibility, we did a Kickstarter. A Kickstarter today is a way to explore your market without taking any risks. It's a kind of, market inquiry without having to pay, and in fact you are paying for that, so it's really interesting. So if people are able to pay to sponsor a project with a Kickstarter, it tells you that if people are able to give money, maybe they can, the engagement by giving money is really important. It's more than just say, I'd like to have that. Because when you pay for that, when companies sponsor the idea, we knew that there is a market for that. I mean, it was a kind of surprise because we are not in 2008, okay? So forking an hypervisor today could be a bit strange because it's not, a buzzword anymore. Everyone is talking about containers, and at least in the open source world. And then I said, let's see. I'm not convinced if there's a lot of people behind the idea, but let's try. And we did. And we reached the goal, which was a small goal, in less than 24 hours. And a lot of people, mainly companies, wanted to participate with the idea to recreate a free fork of XenServer. So we reached with Kickstarter plus extra donation from companies, because with Kickstarter you need to use your credit card, and some companies couldn't, so they made a wire transfer, so that's why it's not counted here. But the result is pretty impressive for a 2-month campaign. So we said, okay, now we've got enough money to hire someone and to be fully dedicated on that, and let's see if we can go somewhere with that. So the opportunity to do what? Because just making a fork by itself, if you don't have any objective, doesn't mean anything. So again, that's the same concept that we've done with Xen Orchestra. We don't want to do, in the long term, just a simple clone of XenServer. We want to do better than that. So first, obviously, we started to just make a fork and make it work. We did. But then, now we are in a really interesting position that we have the management stack, and then we also have the hypervisor underneath. So it means, from a business perspective, you got the whole stack. So it's easier when you are talking to people to say, if you want to get support on XCP-ng and want Xen Orchestra on top of that, you have just one supplier. That's us. So it's easier to sell the stack. Also, we have the opportunity now to go inside the code and to improve it. So we have a lot of ideas to improve it, so you'll see that later. And the first improvement we did is to get rid of the strange patch system and replace it by something that's more close, that's even in the main line when you are using CentOS. When you update the system, you just type update, okay? So when there is an update on Citrix, we get the RPMs inside the pack, we put them into a repository, and then you just have to make a YAML update. So that's probably a Linux geeky thing, so that's why we also did a kind of, it's a plugin to Zappy that take two commands in entry, check updates and make updates, basically. When you ask check updates, it will run the YAML check updates, and in Xenopis it will display all the new packages that have to be updated directly. So it's really simple to use as the old system, but then inside it use something that's more that's used everywhere when you use CentOS. So you can be close to the main line and stay simple to use. Again, that's a motto. When you do software, it should be simple. So you go into the host view, you click on patches, you see there are 6 patches, and if you want to update, you just click on that button and that's it. And if you want to do that for your whole infrastructure, you have a view, you do that, update everything, you click and that's it. Okay? So this is the first thing we've done. So we already made a release of XCP-ng. So I talked about the update mechanism. When you use it, you don't have any license check anymore. Basically, you've got in XenServer a license daemon, which is telling yes or no when the Zappy asks for which feature, and we just remove that, use our own that said yes every time. So basically, when you want to use any feature, it said yes, no problem. You want to do live migration with the disks, no problem, go ahead. So there is no more feature restriction at all. And also, because it's close to XenServer itself, when you insert the ISO on USB key, whatever, and you want to upgrade your XenServer, it's really, really close to the experience. That's almost the same experience than when you upgrade with a more recent XenServer version. So it will keep all your VMs, all your settings, all your storage, whatever. It's almost like it's just a newer version of XenServer. That's it. So it's easy to convert people from XenServer to XCP-ng. And we've done that with very, very limited resources and time. So you can imagine that with a bigger team, that stuff we could do. Also, we had already some community involvement directly. We got some people at CloudStack that made CloudStack compatible with XCP-ng, so it's already working. We got some people who really like, for some strange reason, XenServer, and they decided to make also a fork of it to be compatible with XCP-ng, because basically XenServer, if you try to connect to XCP-ng, the product name is not XenServer, so it said no, I don't want to manage that. So they did a fork, and it's basically XenServer with other logos, and it boots. You can connect to XenServer host or also XCP-ng host. It works the same way. They did that. That's random people in the community that wanted to have it. So they said, why not? They forked on GitHub. They found a solution to rebrand it, and they did it. That's cool. And we got some really crazy guys making some tests with latest kernels to have, for example, latest Ceph release for the storage, and they use maybe even not yet release some kernels, etc. So people, a part of the community, want to really play with it. I mean, to appropriate software and make really cool stuff with it. So obviously, we won't integrate, very cutting-edge features, but we have the opportunity to choose if you want to integrate some stuff. We have 2 places for the community. We've got forum. A lot of users are already talking there. It's really interesting. And we've got a GitHub organization that we group everything from people forking XenServer or people just tinkering with kernels, etc. So a lot of activity, not just user community, but also people who want to contribute to it. So that's pretty funny to see that. So what's next? It's kind of non-ordered list, but basically we want to grow the community again. The goal ideally would be to be able to transform a CentOS VM, a CentOS host, sorry, to an XCP-ng. It means that we need to be sure all the packages when you go from CentOS to XCP-ng are tested, etc. But it should be possible in the end to have a build process and in the future QA, etc. new package we will add. This is, believe me, this is a friendly fork. I mean by that, everything we will add into the API or the storage stack, we want to contribute on GitHub for Citrix. I mean by that, we know the engineering team and we'd like to push our potential work on that to them, so it could be a win-win situation with XenServer. So basically the idea is to keep something and to help XenServer to be transformed to something that's closer to the mainline. So we want to work together with the XenServer guys, okay? We want to also add more storage capabilities, like ZFS, for example. We are working on a driver for that. So the potential is really interesting because it uses a powerful cache system, so it could be useful to run really fast, faster VMs. Also add more integration, more improved performances, etc. So that's the objectives. Also, if you want to do that, you need a kind of reasonable team. So it wasn't planned when we decided to fork it. Again, it was more a defensive move, but very soon after we announced that, some people came to us and said, okay, I want to switch to that, but I want to be supported by a company. Frankly, it wasn't our idea to do that. Our first idea was to just protect our business. But then people said, I'd like to have your support, guys. I want to ditch the Citrix support. I want people who are specialized on the hypervisor, and I wanted quick answer, and I want people dedicated to that. Mainly it was people already using XenOrchestra because they knew that our support is relatively fast and we are trying to help them. And the funny thing is already half of our XenOrchestra tickets are finally related to XenServer issues. So we already did, without doing that officially, but we already did XenServer support. So why not going further and to offer support for running XCP-ng to production? And again, the idea was to have something really simple to do. If you want support, then the first thing would be to give us the UID of your host and to bind it to your contract, and that's it. Obviously, it will be automated in XenOrchestra where you have the choice to see your license and say, I want to protect and to have support for this host, and click apply, and that's it. You're protected, and if you have a problem, if you got the premium plan, then if you have got an emergency, you can call anytime, and 1 hour we'll answer you. Okay. So now we have the idea, we know what we will do with that. So the key to have a successful thing, which it will be in 3 steps. So this is a rough idea. We know that every plan is dying when it's meeting the battle. But anyway, the first step will be to convert our existing XenServer plus XenOrchestra users, because it's easy to reach them. And when people start to update to the latest XenServer edition and they try to do migration and it said a license is not correct, etc., they are not really happy with Citrix, okay? Because in the end, we told them that if you add features, it's okay to add them into a superior version, the paid tier, that's okay. But do not remove features that are in an existing free version. That's the worst choice possible in terms of community impacts. That's a terrible decision. Do not do that, we told them. And they said, we don't care. We don't care, we know our market, we want to do that. And I said, well guys, if you do that, some people, it was last November, some people will like to fork. It lowered the bar for people to know, you have to make effort to fork something, but if in return you got new features or you got access to features, then you have a motivation to do so. So we told them that, and they said, we don't care. Go ahead if you like. And we said, are you sure about that? And they said, yeah, we don't care. So we did. The second step would be to convert XenServer users. not XenServer and XenOrchestra users. Those users are, for example, using CloudStack on top of XenServer, and those are bigger customers. So I think it's possible to convince them to switch from XenServer to XCP-ng, especially if it unlocks all the features and you got support with that. So, and the last step, which will be more complicated step, would be to bring new users. By that I mean people who doesn't use or never used XenServer before. So that's why having the open source stuff is really interesting too, because we are able to target right now the whole levels, people like to tinker in their basement. Those people can already use it because everything is accessible. You can download it, install it, and play with that. And we know that those people are kind of influencer, they talk about that, they become your ambassadors because they like the product, it works, and maybe when it will go into enterprise, they can come to see us and want having support. But the initial objective when you are doing an open source thing is to have adoption. So that's why raising everything and having a full open source plan is good for that. So we have plans to grow the team. We've got some people coming really soon, new hired people to work entirely on XCP-ng, and more we will sell support, more we'll have revenue to that, and more we can grow the team. So before you ask some question, if you have some of them, I already answered to. Is there a shared future with XenServer? I'd like to, but I don't know yet. It depends on, I'm not concerned about the engineers that will accept to merge some stuff, but I don't know the Citrix policy, what Citrix XenServer policy is with us. I don't know yet. And will it support XenApps and desktop? Some far-fetched for now, but we don't know. Okay, officially, because it's the same API now. Every Citrix thing that you can deploy on top of XenServer will work with XCP-ng because it's the same API. So you trick basically Citrix product because they think they are running on XenServer. Basically, it's XenServer. So if you have a question, go ahead. Yeah.
How do you deal with the press? Because I've read an article in the register. And you said you're going to be friendly. So did you any interviews or what was with the press?
The register is a kind of special thing because they really like to troll about Xen. But in general, the press is really curious about this thing because for them, at least even more in the open source press, they don't really see the point to talk about hypervisor now because everything is the new stack, container, whatever. But when you have journalists which are more in the business thing, they like to see that there is some opportunities regarding what Citrix is doing and how the community reacts to that. So this is the interesting part, and maybe you know the CloudStack story. Citrix acquired Cloud.com. They decided to make their own enterprise product based on CloudStack, and finally they failed because other companies were using the open source version and selling consulting and support for CloudStack, and they decided to get rid of it finally because the community was more efficient, and maybe three, four companies doing the job were doing better job than Citrix to support it, so they finally ditched it. So maybe the history will repeat, I don't know exactly, but anyway, our goal is not to have a hostile fork. Again, we want to do something friendly with them as far as we can. Yeah?
Yeah, for me, if I hear that, I'm always enthusiastic about people who are developing here. I also use XenServer in my own lab environment. I also work for Citrix, which makes me more motivated to use our own products. For the alternative to the Xen client, I'm really for it. I think this is really something that a lot of people are looking for, an alternative way to manage their existing XenServer. If we look to replacing XenServer, I think that is why you really. I think this is going to be your biggest challenge to get people away from that one. The main reason why I say this is of course, I know about the licensing. I know that Citrix may have said, okay, some of the things we had in the 3 editions, we're not going to do it from, I think it was 7.4, 7.5.
Yeah.
So a lot of people.
But I think, yeah, your point of view is from XenApp, XenDesktop point of view.
Yeah, because
mainly.
Yeah, because the thing is, a lot of the customers that using XenServer, they do it because we already have XenApp and XenDesktop, which and for the Platinum users they get free licenses for XenServer Full Edition anyway.
Yeah.
So for that community, I think that's a very difficult target to come there, but that doesn't have to be your scope. But my question is, how do you think? What is the company size or the enterprise size that you're really scoping for, or looking for to?
I'm more a server virtualization guy. So for me, the XenApp, XenDesktop, and every concept of remote desktop really sounds strange for me because I'm using Linux and web apps and I don't really get the point of that. But anyway, that's not a market we are targeting. But we were surprised to see a lot of people using it for server virtualization and happy with Citrix. And happy because XenServer is not the priority of Citrix. This is something they want to have in the stack. I'm fair with that. They are targeting more vGPU market, etc. That's completely fair, and I understand that. But that's not our main target for now. The main target is server virtualization for now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know what the future will give on that. I don't know, but we have some people coming to us to say, I want to get rid of XenServer because I'm not using XenApp, I'm not using XenDesktop. And I was surprised because a lot of companies are just using XenServer, even XenServer free, and I think that's maybe the reason why Citrix decided, or Citrix, at least XenServer guys, decided to change the licensing because they thought that a lot of people were using it for free. Even big companies, we got some companies with maybe 500 or 1,000 hosts using XenServer free. So for Citrix, they wanted to get back their money for that kind of deployment. And well, that's what someone at Citrix told me. And I understand that, but I think, in my point of view, from the open source point of view, etc., that's not a good strategy. The good strategy for me is self-support and help people and they will pay you. So it sounds maybe a bit naive, but that's really how it works. I mean,
everybody starts somewhere,
Yeah.
I'm enthusiastic about this initiative. I really like to see where this is going.
At least the first target is indeed people are using more server virtualization and they want to have features like be able to migrate, etc. for their VMs. So again, I'm more a Linux guy, so it makes sense for me. But I won't say tomorrow then I will be I will beat Citrix on the virtual desktop market because I don't even understand really that market. So
no.
Frankly now I don't really care. But if people want to play with that and replace XenServer and use XenApp, XenDesktop on top of that, that's for them. I mean, I don't push anyone to say that. Even when I write blog posts regarding this, if you want to use vGPU line migration, which is open source, please go to XenServer. If you want to use XenApp, XenDesktop and have support for the whole stack, go to Citrix. But if you want to have a server virtualization without any licensing stuff, go to XCP-ng. So this is how we split the market, and this is how I try to explain to the management of XenServer for now. So
great.
So that's it. So I know we don't want to compete directly on desktop virtualization. Doesn't make sense. I'm not even using Windows, so so for me it doesn't make sense. Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions? No. Fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.